Hey there everybody, how's it going? Nice to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're having a blessed day. So I really need to stay off of eBay. Need to stay off of YouTube too. I find out about things that I shouldn't be tempted by. But you know what? Hey, c'est la vie. So years ago, I had me a Leica M6, and I just got one today. The thing about Leicas is my first Leica was a Leica double stroke M3, because back in the day I was so poor that you know, I couldn't afford much, and I'm still poor and I still can't afford much, so much hasn't changed. But I have a little bit more than I did back then. I think I got less things to spend it on, right? Back in the day, I had a double stroke M3, and they were cheap. You could get like a user one in Portland for a couple $250. Of course, the lenses have always been the bugaboo, and that was the problem. But the problem with getting an M3 for your first Leica is that becomes the size. The M3 is a little thinner, a little narrower this way, but not enough that you can tell. I think it's a difference between 32 millimeters and 38 millimeters. So it's like 5 millimeters. The M6 is 5 millimeters fatter, but you can't really tell. I mean, if I had an M3 here, I could tell, but this is close enough. Surprisingly, they came out with the M6 TTL, and they added 2.5 millimeters, which isn't a lot, in this dimension. And to me, it just didn't feel right. And so, yeah, so I don't like the M6 TTLs. So what is this? A film camera. This is a Leica film camera. This is the M6. The TTL gives you, this has a meter in it, and it gives you through the lens metering for the exposure of the film for ambient light. But the TTL model, the M6 TTL, what the TTL stands for is through the lens flash metering, which in this day and age isn't really that, and particularly for a Leica, I mean, I don't know. It's not really, you know, I mean, really it comes down to, it's kind of the same with the automation in the digital cameras. It's so automated, it kind of gets in the way if you know what you're doing. Like I shot flash at weddings 100% of the time, mostly, 98% of the time. And so flash to me is second nature, no big deal. Give me a manual flash. Really what I like is an auto thyrista, that's what they call it. But basically it's a flash unit that has a sensor in the flash. And so you set the flash to, let's say, F4 or F8, and then you know what the flash is doing, and then you can play games with that by adjusting your exposure on the camera. TTL flash metering really is only very useful if you're doing macro work or something like that. Automating stuff sometimes creates more problems than it's worth. I'll get into that in a bit. So this camera has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 controls on it. That's it. And 9 if you count the reminder. Well, it's not a reminder. It dials in the ISO for the meter. Yeah, there aren't a lot of controls on these. It's a very manual camera. You know, the thing is you have to set everything, but if you know what you're doing, you know what those settings are going to be. And you know what settings you want, so it makes it really fast. So there's the M6 TTL, and they made it a little taller. I've never liked that. The thing is this, so the other thing about the M3 is it has like a 0.92 viewfinder, which is almost 1-to-1. And it really only has 50mm frame lines in the viewfinder. And I like that. And so most of your M6s came with 0.72s, which covered they had 28mm frame lines wide angle. And I always thought that having gotten used to the M3, I always thought that the 72 viewfinder was really too wide. And if I want to go wide with a rangefinder, I'll go with an auxiliary finder up here. So I saw this camera. This is an M6 non-TTL with a 0.85 viewfinder in it, which isn't the most favored by a lot of the Leica people, which I'm surprised by, because everyone concedes that the M3 is the best Leica, and the M3 had an even higher magnification viewfinder than a 0.85. The 8.5 and the 9.2, I think it's 9.2, 9.3, something like that, are close. The 9.2 or 9.3 being what's in the M3. So for me, this was like the perfect camera. And what's interesting is I found out they only made these in 1998 when they were switching over to the TTL models, and they only made 3,000 of these. So this is a 1998 camera, and there's only about 3,000 of them that were made. And I looked at that, and I thought about it for 2 or 3 days, and I was like, you know, if I were to get an M6, one of the things I never liked about the M6 was the 0.72 viewfinder. I said to myself, if I were to get an M6, I'd want a non-TTL 0.85 viewfinder. And I just couldn't resist anymore, so that's what I did. And so this is my everyday camera. And so what I did is I have the photographs I opened this video up with were taken with my Pentax LX. And I've got a roll of film. This is the first roll of film in here, and up to 15 exposures, just taking pictures of my cats and stuff. Just testing the camera, making sure there's no light leaks. I really doubt that there's going to be any problems. I really think it's in great shape. I would rate this camera at 9.7 out of 10. It's in really, really good condition. It even has the plastic on the bottom. Okay, so it's in really good condition. But it's not so clean that you're afraid to use it. And that's like just perfect. And the price was right. And it might be because the M6 with a non-TTL M6 with the 0.85 viewfinder isn't in that much favor. I mean, it's not cheap. They're not giving them away, but it's not like the 0.58 viewfinder, which is super wide. And people seem to like that one. So I don't. And it's a personal preference thing. The only thing is, if any of you Leica guys are watching this video, I'd like to swap out, like you can still get the diopter modules for these, and they look like they screw in, but I tried moving this one, and I don't want to force anything and break it. Any tips on getting the diopter lens off would be greatly appreciated. I'll do some more research. So the other thing that kicked me over to this is I was looking at the camera, and I said to myself, you know, you're going to need lenses for the damn thing. And I saw the 50 Summicron f2, and I always liked that lens. And I said, I got to have one of those. So I picked that up. And that was a good price. But I knew that, like, you know, you can't keep spending $2,000 for lenses, and that's used. So I said to myself, you know, if there aren't any lenses for these things, this is a waste of my time, because I don't want just the camera. I'd like to have a few lenses for it. And enter in Matt Osborne, MrLeica.com. Thanks, Matt. Been watching your channel nonstop for the past 3 or 4 days, for the past week. And evidently, Voigtlander Cosina has been making some lenses, and you can still get them brand new. And so Voigtlander Cosina makes some lenses that are absolutely, I mean, they're one click below Leica because they're made in Japan and not Germany, I think. But they're all brass and glass and aluminum and helicoil focusing and all the rest of it. I mean, Yeah, they're close. These are Leica clones or Leica copies or something. And they are just beautiful, beautiful lenses. And so that's the 90 Apo 2.8 up there. Let me take that off of there. That's the 90 Apo 2.8. Beautiful lens. And this one is the 35-1.4 Knock-On, and that's a gorgeous lens. And I got the lens hood off of Amazon for 10 bucks. That's a Hogue lens hood that fits perfectly. And so that's the 35 and the 90 and the 50. And I picked up the 21mm color Scope R f4. Now that I also picked up the viewfinder for, and the viewfinder wasn't cheap. The viewfinder was like 150 bucks, which I think is a lot of money for a viewfinder. So I've got the 21, the 35, the 50, and the 90. I'm done. I mean, that's perfect. That's all I need, you know, and it makes a beautiful little kit. I've had this bag for years. That's a Billingham Hadley Small Pro. And perfect. You know, so I've got a roll of Tri-X going right now. And probably as soon as I get that finished and developed and scanned, and there it is. So that's my everyday camera for 35mm. And it's great. Looking forward to shooting it. And I realized that like shooting with an AI-powered digital computer is kind of like playing a video game on God mode. Like it's fun to like walk around and kill everything and look at stuff. But after a while, it's really boring. And you can only do that for so long, half an hour or so, maybe 20 minutes. And then you're like, yeah, this isn't any fun. Maybe that's what's wrong with digital. I don't know. You know, you've got to be engaged a little bit, right? So yeah, I mean, you know, this is hard because I have to focus, and in comparison, I can't just go click, 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 or put it on continuous, fire off like a machine gun, and every picture is sharp. You know, this requires some effort on my part. It doesn't make the photos any better, but it sure makes it a lot more fun. Just something to consider. And so anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll see you out there.